This morning, I read several news articles about the memo that the University of Idaho's administration sent to all of their staff, directing their staff to not talk about or promote abortion, and not to talk about or promote birth control, and to only give out condoms, while saying that they were being given out to prevent STDs, and not saying that they could be used as a form of birth control, that they expect all of their staff to immediately follow. If you are an employee at the University of Idaho, first of all, I would like to let you know that universities are supposed to be places where students go to learn, and the professors and other staff who work at universities are supposed to be upstanding members of the community and intellectuals whose opinions and advice can be trusted not only by their students but by the general public. So your university has basically ceased to be what a university is supposed to be by issuing you these instructions and expecting you to follow them. Therefore, you should not follow them. Now, if I was a professor at the University of Idaho, what I would do is get a giant blow-up balloon of a penis and get some cloth and sew something that looks like a condom and put it over the giant penis and stick it on the top of my car and drive around the university, blaring my horn, throwing condoms at the window while screaming, "Condoms prevent pregnancy! Everybody should use condoms if they don't want to have an unintended pregnancy and have to have a now illegal abortion!" See, that's what I would do. So, if somebody tells you to jump off a bridge, you do not have to do it. Following the same logic, a cat's about to leap up on me, by the way, people. If somebody tells you to throw somebody else off of a bridge, or throw somebody else under a bus, or fuck somebody over in some way, shape, or form, you also don't have to do it. If the somebody who tells you to do that is a government official, you are the one who decides whether or not to follow their instructions. Being an upstanding, law-abiding member of the community only makes sense if the laws make sense. If the laws stop making sense, you are not an upstanding member of the community by following them. Like, think about Nazi Germany. They made laws saying to discriminate against Jewish people. Are you a moral, law-abiding citizen if you follow those laws? Or are you a moral human being if you refuse to follow those laws and devote your life to opposing them, whether it be in public or in secret? I suggest that you take advice from people who have been smoking marijuana in secret for most of their lives in states where it was illegal. Some of them are probably students at your university. Yes, students at your university in a state where marijuana is illegal are smoking it in their dorms right now, secretly. And they're actually not only smoking it, they're buying it and possibly even selling it. I wonder how this is happening. Why are they not, like, literally having some kind of internal moral crisis because they're doing something illegal? Perhaps it's because smoking marijuana is not immoral, and anybody who smokes marijuana thinks the laws against it are absurd and discriminatory, and that they should not have to follow them. So they have no interest in doing so. So they find a way to buy or sell marijuana and to smoke it, even in your dorms, in your state, and they think that they are doing nothing wrong, because they know that the laws saying that the normal not immoral thing that they're doing is wrong are bullshit. There's the cat. So I've been in Idaho one time in my life. I drove through there while I was on fish tour. And yeah, I had some marijuana with me, and I stopped in some beautiful national parks in Idaho, and I smoked it. And I believe I was not only violating your state's laws, but also federal law by doing it, because it was in a national park. And you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. And if some cop had come up to harass me for smoking marijuana, I would not have thought I was doing anything wrong or apologized to the asshole. In fact, I would have explained to him that I was not doing anything wrong. And if he wanted to ticket me or arrest me for it, well, he could. And I would go into court and say I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like, I'm not going to admit that I'm doing something wrong when I'm not doing something wrong just because somebody, even if it's a lawmaker, says I am. That's bullshit. So that's my advice to staff at the University of Idaho. My advice is not only refuse to obey these rules or these laws, but actively oppose them. Whether you do it by driving around in your car and screaming out the window while throwing condoms at everybody, or devoting your next lecture to explaining to your class why abortion is good, or secretly opposing the laws by asking those college students who smoke marijuana how they get it and how their drug dealers smuggle it, and then following their instructions and doing the same to smuggle abortion pills to your students. Like, whether you are actively opposing these rules publicly or secretly under the radar, actively opposing them, actively oppose them in some way, shape, or form. Do not obey them. That does not make you a good professor or employee or member of the community. Following these rules that tell you to throw people under the bus makes you like the equivalent of like a Nazi collaborator that followed the laws that said to discriminate against Jewish people. How are you any different from those people? How are you any different? Like, we judge previous societies for the things their governments did by saying that the people let them do it. They let their government do it because they followed the instructions their government gave them. You are now in that same situation as those people that you might have criticized in your history lecture were in. You must now make the decision, the correct decision, the one that you said that those people back in the past should have made. Like, it's even going on right now. They're saying that it's the Russian people's fault that Putin is in power, and they could have voted him out, and they should have voted him out, and they're responsible for the war in Ukraine. Give me a break. They're like fleeing their country in mass right now because they're all about to be drafted. And honestly, people who support the right of Russian men to leave their country so they do not get drafted should also stop getting on the case of people in the USA who dodged the draft for the Vietnam War. Support the right of anyone who dodged any draft or is currently dodging any draft. Nobody should be drafted into the army, because being drafted into the army is the equivalent of being enslaved. And arguably, being told by your university that you have to not provide accurate information on an important topic that affects women's health, or provide inaccurate information, or not talk at all, is basically also being enslaved. If you work at the University of Idaho, you are now a slave. Because if you don't say or do what they tell you to, you will get in trouble. Or maybe even get put into prison, where you will be put in a cell, forced to eat what they want you to eat, forced to work when they want you to work, basically enslaved. So with this all said, I'm going to end this video. Not only because I am done with my rant, but because, as you can see, my nose is running, and I can't actually wipe my nose with my cat hair covered hand or a tissue I don't have, so I am now ending this rant. Bye, people.